the influence of the Beatles you'll see often throughout this series, but one of the things we thought would be interesting is it's great to have all these incredibly famous people, but people like you'll discover Mark and I stories as we go. But people like Mark and I definitely owe a lot to the Beatles, and so we started trying to find people with more normal jobs to discuss with them. How did the Beatles impact you? And we started with a cracker.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a normal job.
It's not a normal job, is it?
Yeah, Paul Mannion, brilliant.
He's in the weird position of having played John and George
Yeah.
across the world. Let's just introduce him.
Yeah. So here he is, Paul Mannion.
This is Casbah. Yeah, it's first time here. It's fantastic. Yeah. Size of the place, I wasn't expecting it to be this big. The gardens was great. It'd be great to have a festival of Liverpool bands, Liverpool acts playing here.
I used to, when I was at music college when I was 19, a friend of mine lived just up the road, and we'd wait for these people to come off the Magical Mystery Tour bus who were the tourists, and we'd run down with our acoustic guitars and meet them outside the house and then just start playing. His little brother would come round with a hat, with a cap, and take the money off people. And then one day the lady who used to live there before the National Trust came out, and she shouted at us, said, "I don't want this outside my house anymore." And so we stopped then, but it was a good experience.
So is that when you did you sort of have kind of ambitions to do that as a career already then?
Yeah, well, the Beatles influenced me into writing songs. As soon as I started playing the guitar, as soon as I started learning a couple of chords, I started writing songs.
My mum went to see the Beatles in 1964 at the Empire down in Bleasdale. She said all she could hear was girls screaming at the band. But she loved the Beatles. And I doubt I would have picked up the guitar and gone to music college, studied for a couple of years, and I doubt I would have wanted to be a songwriter or playing bands.
I went to the same school that John Lennon went to, Corey Bank, which was called Cobblestones when I went there.
Yeah.
And then eventually I ended up in a show in the West End for 5 years, playing George and then playing John Lennon on tour.
Yeah. Well, isn't that amazing the way they sort of incorporate, it's like folk music and folk history into the...
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Irish influence as well.
People talk about how, how revolutionary it was, but there's always something in it that people can relate to. Older generations can still hear
Definitely, yeah.
The thing about it's like such a sort of unprepossessing house, isn't it? You could easily walk past this. There wasn't a National Trust plaque on the front.
I think it was a council house, I'm sure it was. But yeah, the amount of classic songs that they started writing in there and in the backyard. I wonder if they ever had any complaints from the neighbours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because they, as you said, they would go into the toilet, wouldn't they, and rehearse in the toilet for that echo, the bog echo.
So we're coming up to the Everyman. What did you?
Yeah, I worked with a theatre company. My first job in theatre, I worked with a theatre company called Caboodle. We had our offices next to the Everyman. It shows the Everyman on the Unity Theatre down the road.
So is that like musical theatre?
Yeah, musical theatre. Called Caboodle. We did kind of Brechtian type theatre. It was a great experience. Yeah. I've never worked in theatre before. The first time I acted on stage. Yeah. Extremely nervous the first time I ever did it, but great experience. Yeah, so I did a show at the Royal Court called Lennon, where I played George Harrison. That was an actor muso show where we played all different instruments on stage and different characters, and that was a great experience.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And sort of having done some of that, do you then getting on to Let It Be? Do you kind of did you become known as he can do a good George Harrison?
Kind of typecast.
Yeah.
That's where McCartney played in it at the. In that James Cook.
thing. When they end up. Yeah, that's brilliant.
I did a show called Lennon with that fella, Andrew Schofield, played John Lennon. Great actor, great musician. I played George Harrison.
So how's it like being back here, having been in London for 20 years?
Yeah, well, about 17 years. So, being back here now, there's so much more live music in Liverpool now. There's live music around Matthew Street from around midday up until midnight every day. Yeah. And there's loads of tourists coming in and out. So it's great for the young and, just jobbing musicians, singers, guitarists.
So as you can see, it's just rocking every night in Liverpool now, full of tourists.
You must have met some pretty amazing people through that, and
Yeah, I met quite a few. I toured at Elvis Costello, and one of the first major tour I did. And last they put a statue of Brian Epstein up. It was Brian Epstein and his business sense. We wouldn't have the Beatles. That was the old Nem shop where that lad went in and asked for my Bonnie. And then
You've got a new album coming out soon.
yeah, well, that's it. It's going to be an EP first, and then we're going to develop it into an album. So I've got a single coming out in a few weeks towards the end of August called Chaser. The band's called The Word. Yeah, I don't know what my life would be like. It would be less rich. I know that. I wouldn't have travelled the way I've travelled. I've travelled all over the world a couple of times, you know. Worked in the West End, worked all over the place, you know, down to the Beatles, really. Thank them.
Whatever was happening interesting culturally, they were kind of the door to that as well, I think. They kind of, the stuff that they were influenced by, they kind of then introduced to these small little worlds that then they sort of made bigger by introducing.
Always teaching you something, always giving you some kind of, you know, positive worldview. So that's going to be at Airbnb soon. So Beatle fans from all over the world will be able to come and stay here and come and see me do my shows. The band's called The Word. Shameless plug. You know, and being from the same school and from the same area, you just couldn't escape them, but I wouldn't want him.
Weird walking around Liverpool with him, wasn't it? We went to the Casbah.
Yeah.
And you've never been, because I think a lot of Beatle fans don't realise the Casbah still exists.
Incredible, and the fact that it's like unique and that it's completely untouched, it's almost like they've just shut up shop the day before, and you can see, you know, they let you touch everything. There's like the ceilings which they'd painted in different rooms, and you know, John's graffitied his name and got a smack round here. Look out for it.
Still owned by the Best family. So if you ever go to Liverpool, the Cavern is wonderful. But it is a recreation of the Cavern. It's on the wrong side of the street, and it's not the actual building. But the building where the Beatles basically came together as a band, where they first performed as the Beatles, and spent 2 years and decorated and put up, is the basement of Pete Best's house that Mona Best owned in Liverpool in Hayman's Green. And it's after the Pete Best was shut out of the Beatles, she basically shut the club, and everything was left preserved in aspic exactly as it was in 1962. It's quite mad, isn't it?
Yeah, and the thing that really struck me was like how tight the first, because they obviously had to go into another room because it was getting too popular, but the first space they recorded, it's like, you know, it's like a tiny corridor, and there's doors either side, not at the back. So even to get in to watch, you could probably fit 10 people in that room to see, and everyone else would be craning their heads around the back and just imagining the sound there. And you know, there's not even enough room to like move your elbows, isn't it?
Well, that's how bands start out.
Yeah, exactly.
Playing in the corner. For various reasons, they don't like people to film inside the Casbah. But you should have seen Paul. You can get his enthusiasm from the film, right? And he's just so excited. So he wants to run a festival from there. He wants to play there. He wants to record there.
And it's in like an amazing area of Liverpool, and it's like it's very sort of middle class. It's a massive house.
Yeah, it's a massive house thing. If you ever go, you'll have to wonder of the chutzpah of Pete Best's mum for daring to run a nightclub in the basement of our house in basically what looks like the London equivalent would be Hampstead or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.